Good morning, I'm Valerie Castro.
And I'm Stephen Romo. Joe and Savannah are on assignment.
We begin this morning in Washington, where little progress has been made to avoid a potential federal government shutdown.
Yeah, and time is running out for Congress to reach a deal on funding the government. That deadline is Saturday at midnight. Millions of Americans would be affected by this shutdown. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says he plans to bring a short-term funding bill to the House floor today, but its path is very unclear as McCarthy is facing deep opposition within his own party. A bipartisan Senate bill to fund the government through mid-November has not yet been voted on, but that bill is being opposed by many House Republicans, including Speaker McCarthy.
I look at the current Senate bill that does nothing when it deals with the border. Listen, I believe this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to deal with the border, deal with our funding, and put us on a path that this country is stronger.
The House did take up several bills yesterday, including passing and approving $300 million in new aid to Ukraine. NBC News congressional correspondent Julie Sirkin joins us now with the latest on this. Julie, good morning. So if you will, sort of set the scene for today. What can you tell us about this bill McCarthy is planning to bring to the House floor? And talk to us about the challenges he's facing with his own party. Remember back in January how hard it was for him to get those far-right members on board just for him to win the speakership. And now here we go again.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Well, look, Republicans I spoke to said that this is nothing compared to, the gavel battle that he faced is nothing compared to this challenging fight that he's facing now. The debt ceiling was sort of phase 2, as conservatives explained. This is now phase 3, and today McCarthy plans to bring up a stopgap measure about 30 days to fund the government past this deadline tomorrow night. The problem is that the spending levels are too low for Democrats in the Senate to accept, and of course the Senate would have to approve that bill, but it's not low enough for Republicans, for some of the hard-right conservatives in his own party to accept that in his chamber. And so McCarthy is unfortunately expected to lose at least a handful of Republicans when he brings his bill up for a vote today. But he made progress yesterday on those appropriations bills. That's what he's going to tell reporters later this morning. Take a listen to what he said yesterday in terms of those frustrations.
Look, I got challenge inside our conference. I've got members who will not vote to have a stopgap measure to continue to fund government. I got members who say they'll never vote for a nominee. Well, if you won't do any of that, it's hard to govern. And so, yes, but I look at it, every challenge I have is an opportunity. We will get this done, and we will be better and stronger for it. But I don't give up if the clock runs out. I'm okay playing in overtime.
The problem is overtime is obviously past that shutdown deadline. Millions of Americans would certainly be impacted by that. McCarthy's got a real challenge he's facing today because really this is his only opportunity to get that bill through before that shutdown deadline.
And Julie, what are we hearing from Democratic leadership on the state of negotiations? Where do they stand as the Senate looks to pass its own bill, also facing opposition?
Well, Senate Democrats are working with Republicans now at least to try and craft some kind of border provisions to add to their Senate bill, because remember, that is one of the biggest hangups for conservatives in the House. They have their own border measures attached to their bill. That's something that'll never pass in the Democrat-controlled Senate. Now at the 11th hour, you have a group of Senate Republicans meeting with some Democrats to try and get that through. But overall, Majority Leader Schumer says they're not going to accept anything the House will send over, and they certainly put the shutdown in their ballpark. Take a listen to what Schumer had to say about this.
Speaker McCarthy is letting a small band of very extreme members override the views of everyone else. It's the tail wagging the dog. That's the crux of the entire shutdown message. And if Speaker McCarthy continues on his path, it will have consequences for years to come.
Even the Senate, though, has not managed to pass their stopgap measure yet. That's something they're going to start today and work on through the weekend.
And Julie, a government shutdown like this is not unprecedented. There have been 5 incidents just in the past 30 years. So just briefly here, what are the immediate effects? We'll see if this happens.
Well, millions of Americans will be impacted by this. Federal agencies have already sent instructions to their employees saying they're probably going to be furloughed. Even if they're essential, they're going to have to show up to work without back pay. And of course, this also means critical programs, you see that on your screen, for Americans will be paused. That includes, of course, federal workers. They're going to be furloughed. Social Security and Medicare, that will continue. But as the shutdown goes on, those funds could be impacted. Food programs, childcare programs, real things that Americans depend on every single day are going to be threatened because of this shutdown. Of course, the last time this happened in 2019, that went over a month and millions of Americans were impacted by that. This is something, again, that Americans will be facing at midnight tomorrow night.
And it looks very likely. All right, Julie, thanks for that update. All right, more on the legal challenges now of former President Donald Trump and his two eldest sons, Don Jr. and Eric. They're expected to be among the witnesses in next week's civil fraud trial in New York. That's according to a court filing that came yesterday. The $250 million lawsuit by New York Attorney General Letitia James alleges that Trump and his company committed repeated acts of fraud by making false and misleading claims about the value of multiple real estate assets. Trump denies any wrongdoing. That trial comes as lawyers for the former president say he will not try to move his Georgia election interference case to a federal court. Now, that's a surprise move, as he previously indicated he would try to move that case. Trump and 18 other defendants are charged with attempting to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. They have all pleaded not guilty. Now, this reversal comes after fellow defendant Mark Meadows had his bid to move the case to a federal court denied by a judge.
House Republicans have issued a subpoena for the bank records of President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and brother, James Biden.
Yeah, this comes after star witnesses in the first impeachment inquiry against President Biden ended up testifying that they did not have proof that he committed impeachable offenses. In fact, the hearing didn't bring any new information on Biden's alleged actions. The committee is investigating whether Biden engaged in impeachable offenses under the U.S. Constitution, specifically whether Biden was involved in or personally profited from his family's foreign business dealings, or whether he improperly influenced policy when he served as vice president. Now, the White House insists President Biden has done nothing wrong. Republicans handpicked 3 witnesses for this hearing, while Democrats selected 1 witness. But the testimony from those star witnesses, their own witnesses, did not support those Republican allegations.
I do not believe that the current evidence would support articles of impeachment. That is something that an inquiry has to establish.
I am not here today to even suggest that there was corruption, fraud, or any wrongdoing. In my opinion, more information needs to be gathered and assessed before I would make such an assessment.
NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba joins us now. Monica, James Comer kicked off the meeting saying the House Oversight Committee, quote, uncovered a mountain of evidence revealing Joe Biden used his public office for his financial gain. So far, there's no evidence to back that up. So walk us through what happened yesterday.
Yeah, really yesterday there was this expectation that there were going to be some new details, a potential linkage between Hunter Biden's business dealings and his father. Remember, we're talking about the time when Joe Biden was vice president, and none of that really came to any kind of an open area here. This is something Republicans continue to talk about or point at without ever being able to back up with any concrete evidence. And that is something certainly that the White House pointed to. They were releasing a statement every 30 minutes or so, reminding Americans that that is the case, while pointing to the fact that Republicans were holding this first impeachment inquiry hearing while we are just hours away from a government shutdown, as you've just been discussing the impacts of. But here's a little bit more from the hearing itself, from James Comer and from Jamie Raskin, the Democrat, who also responded to all of this to try to remind people of what has and hasn't been discovered so far. Listen.
For years, President Biden has lied to the American people about his knowledge of and participation in his family's corrupt business schemes.
All right, so let's get it straight. We're 62 hours away from shutting down the government of the United States of America, and Republicans are launching an impeachment drive based on a long debunked and discredited lie.
And again, this is something that President Biden, when he's asked about it, or others in the White House, have simply said that he is proud of his son, that he loves his son, he supports his son, but he maintains that he never had anything to do with the business dealings of his son. Valerie and Stephen.
Monica, we can't ignore the timing of this inquiry. Of course, we were just talking to Julie Sirkin about the government shutdown that's on the horizon. that could affect millions of Americans. Our latest NBC polling shows the majority of voters oppose these impeachment hearings. So what could this all mean for Republicans heading into the 2024 election?
Yeah, they're certainly running a political risk there. And again, this was something that even Republicans behind the scenes told our Hill team yesterday. They were really disappointed with how the hearing went. It was 6+ hours. They were expecting more from it. And so I think you may continue to see some, again, within the own party of the GOP saying that if there isn't going to be more that's presented here, this isn't going to amount to anything. And that they could argue is the whole reason for why they're doing this as a potential political stunt to try to put the focus on this, even if there isn't anything there currently to back it up.
Monica, you said it was a long day of hearings yesterday. So what is next?
So there could be more hearings. That is at least what Republicans have pointed to, that we don't have a firm date for that yet. And the government shutdown could complicate all of that. But what would need to happen if this were to potentially advance is there would need to be some kind of charge that they agreed and that the committee would try to bring, that they would, again, try to link Hunter Biden to Joe Biden on. So far, that hasn't happened. And if that were to happen somehow, then there would have to be a vote, which would require a majority. And again, that support right now just doesn't seem to be there. It could potentially, if something else is discovered. You mentioned those records that are going to be subpoenaed, but right now it's just not very clear. Guys.
Monica, thank you for that reporting. We appreciate it.
To Colorado now, where the trial against two officers accused in Elijah McLean's death is currently underway. During testimony this week, new details were revealed about the night leading up to McLean's death, with the court's focus shifting to the training the officers standing trial received. NBC News correspondent Aaron Gilchrist has the story, and we do want to warn you, some of the video you're about to see may be disturbing.
Please be seated. The court will recall.
We're now a week into graphic testimony in the trial over Elijah McLean's death at the hands of police officers in Aurora, Colorado 4 years ago. Officer Randy Rodema and former officer Jason Rosenblatt, the first to stand trial, each pleading not guilty to 1 count of manslaughter and 1 count of criminally negligent homicide.
Next witness for the prosecution.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This case started with a stop at a convenience store. NBC News obtained video of a 23-year-old McLean buying cans of iced tea on August 24th, 2019, and leaving the store before a call to 911.
Let me see if he has a mask on. He looks sketchy. He might be a good person or a bad person.
Yeah.
So, mask on.
Okay. Were any weapons involved or mentioned?
No.
Court documents saying that McLean was often cold and wore a runner's mask and jacket even on warmer days. As McLean walked home carrying a plastic bag in one hand, a cell phone in the other, and earphones in his ears, then Officer Nathan Woodyard tried to stop him.
Do me a favor, stop right there. Hey, stop right there. Stop. 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 I have a right to stop you because you're being suspicious.
Well, okay.
Turn around.
Rosenblatt and Rodema arrived on the scene minutes later, and the situation escalated as the officers tried to move McLean, eventually wrestling him to the ground.
Give us some more units. We're fighting them.
Woodyard put McLean in a neck hold, which was eventually released.
Bring us on the ground. It was Elijah McLean.
We had to use carotid.
That's what I was doing. I was just going home. I'm an introvert and I'm different.
You come out.
An officer described McLean as having, quote,
crazy strength.
A paramedic gave McLean ketamine to sedate him before loading him into an ambulance. McLean's heart stopped en route to the hospital. He went into a coma and died 3 days later. Now, after 4 years, 2 of the 3 officers who responded that night are on trial, their attorneys saying they followed procedure and demonstrated restraint.
From the contact to the force to putting the recovery position was all pursuant to their training and all pursuant to the policy.
The prosecution relaying more grim details of McLean's death.
When the autopsy is performed, his lungs are twice the weight of a normal person's. And you'll hear that in his lungs, there's digestive material and digestive fluid because he's been inhaling his own vomit.
The defense largely blaming McLean's death on the paramedics who administered the ketamine.
But then when paramedics arrive on scene, the paramedics have full medical control.
The 2 paramedics have pled not guilty to manslaughter and negligent homicide. They're scheduled for trial in November. A critical care expert suggesting the ketamine was just one factor.
Was the ketamine, in your opinion, the only thing that caused Mr. McLean's death on the night that he died?
In my opinion, it was not. It was also the position that he was put in that reduced his ability to cough.
One thing both sides agree on, McLean's death should never have happened. Now his family and friends waiting to see who a jury believes is responsible.
Aaron Gilchrist reporting there. It's not clear right now whether the officers will actually take the stand to testify.
This morning, we're learning chilling new details about the moments leading up to the murder of tech CEO Pava Lapere in Baltimore. It comes a day after police confirmed a suspect was arrested following an extensive manhunt. NBC News correspondent Ron Allen has the latest.
Baltimore prosecutors vowing to send Jason Billingsley to prison for the rest of his life after charging him with murdering tech CEO Pava Lapere.
The last few days have been unnerving for our citizens, and I sincerely hope we are able to find a little bit of peace today.
In a statement, Lapere's family saying they're relieved to know he can no longer hurt other innocent victims.
She really was larger than life.
The arrest hours after a vigil attended by hundreds.
She was the definition of daddy's little girl. She had me wrapped and still does.
Charging documents say Lapere let the suspect into the building where she lived and worked last Friday night around 11 p.m. And that security footage shows them getting into an elevator together. The documents say Lapere's half-clothed body was found on the roof. The cause of death, strangulation and blunt force trauma. Police also revealed they already were tracking Billingsley as a suspect in a case involving attempted murder, rape, and arson, but had not alerted the public when he allegedly killed Lapere 3 days later, leading to questions about whether authorities should have raised alarms about Billingsley before he allegedly killed Lapere, a widely admired tech entrepreneur.
I'm not going to speculate whether it could have prevented her death, but as soon as we realized that there was a public safety, we had the press conference.
Questions also swirling about how a man who authorities say is a repeat violent criminal and sex offender could be released from prison on parole and probation last October after serving about half of a 14-year sentence.
Rapists shouldn't be let out early, period.
Our thanks to Ron Allen for that report. This morning, police say they still see no previous connection between Lapere and Billingsley. Time now for your weekend forecast.
And looks like it's going to be another rainy one, but we're not going to blame meteorologist Angie Lassman. That's not a funny joke anymore. Angie, what can you tell us? Good morning.
You got to be nicer to me in order for me to give you better news.
I've learned that, yes.
All jokes aside, guys, yes, it is a very busy day, specifically today, and we will see that rain carry over into the weekend, but today is going to be a high-impact day across parts of the Northeast. We're already seeing 23 million people under flood alerts. Specifically, we have flash flood warnings already in effect this morning for parts of Brooklyn. We're seeing parts of Long Island involved in this, and we're likely to see more of those come down the pipeline here as we go through the day today. You can see the radar picking up all of that heavy rain that we've been in and out of already since early this morning. The commute this morning is going to be a mess. Later this afternoon, potentially an even bigger mess with more rain and really impressive rainfall amounts and rates on tap for the day today. So let's show you exactly what's happening. We've got a coastal low sitting down a little to our south, just off the coast of the mid-Atlantic. It's pushing in all of this moisture, and we've got a really impressive moisture to tap into, and we likely will see repeated rounds of that heavy rainfall over some of the same areas. And remember, we've got those really saturated grounds from all of the rain earlier into this week, and it just has nowhere to go. So this is going to be something we'll watch. If you're looking for the drier skies, that happens as we get later into the day on Saturday and into Sunday. It'll be a gorgeous day, but between now through Saturday, here are those rainfall totals. You can see widespread amounts, 1 to 3 inches, but we could see 6 to 8 inches in some of the worst case scenarios. It looks like we could pick up 10 inches in some spots. That means that flash flooding is a big concern today, and it could be life-threatening for some folks. So this is something you'll want to watch, especially if you're in parts of New York. New York City is included in the skies. Parts of Connecticut, New Jersey, all have the potential to see a really difficult day ahead.
Wow, saw all those headlines popping off yesterday about the potential danger here.
Do not drive through the flooded roadways.
Yes, say it and say it again. All right, Angie Lassman, thanks so much.
Thank you. Former President Jimmy Carter is getting ready to celebrate a major milestone birthday this weekend. The longest-living former president is turning 99 this Sunday, and the Carter Center in Georgia is celebrating with several activities, including a display of birthday messages from people all around the world. And while the former president's birthday is actually on Sunday, most of the events are being held tomorrow ahead of the expected government shutdown.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.